Assalamu alaikum, dear students. We are going to start our lecture number 9 on a hanging, that is an essay, a narrative essay that is written in the style of a story. So let me start with the context. If you see this passage, it starts with the gallows stood, and it ends at the prisoner's neck. If you see, this passage describes the arrival at the gallows. Now the prisoner has arrived at the gallows, and now other people who are going to execute him, they have finalized all the preparation for execution. Here in this paragraph, you will see the focus is on the physical setting, the mechanical nature of the execution process, and the disturbing normality with which death is carried out. In simple terms, in simple words, we can say that this is the moment where execution is no longer an idea. It becomes a physical and organized action. Let's start reading the sentences and then explaining them, and then we'll move further as we have been doing. The gallows stood in a small yard separate from the main grounds of the prison. So we'll bifurcate even the sentence. If you see here, it is the physical description of the gallows that our narrator is telling us or describing us. We see that physically gallows are isolated from the rest of the prison. It suggests separation from everyday activities. Why they have kept it separate? This is the question we should have in our mind. So the answer is that the execution is something the system keeps apart. And that's why we keep it separate. You can say symbolically it is kept separate. So it also shows that death is hidden, yet still part of the system. It is part of the system that is ordering the people to die, to be executed, and overgrown with tall, prickly weeds. Now, you can make the picture in your mind. You see that weeds are present there, and their presence suggests negligence and decay. That place is being neglected. The place is decaying with the passage of time. Where weeds usually grow, this is a question we should keep in our mind. The answer is that weeds usually grow in places that are ignored or the places that are abandoned completely. Nobody goes there. So we can draw the meaning here that this part, or the description of weeds or the description of gallows, creates a dark atmosphere and suggests moral neglect around execution. It is morally neglected. It was a brick erection like the three sides of a shed. Not erection, that's surrection. Like three sides of shed. So The gallows is described in simple structural terms. Comparing it to a shed makes it sound ordinary, not very special. So this contrast is important. The structure is ordinary, but its purpose is deadly. It takes the life of an innocent person. It looks simple. It looks unimportant, not extraordinary, but what it is doing is extraordinary. Killing a person. With planking on top, and above that, two beams and a crossbar with the rope dangling. This is also detailed description, part of detailed description. And that detailed physical description highlights the structure of execution. Each part is described step by step, like a machine. Every machine has different parts. So gallows also has different parts. So it is described in the same way as we can describe a machine. This shows execution as a mechanical process, like machine, not an emotional act. It does not involve any kind of emotions. Now, see, there is another person, the hangman, a gray-haired convict in the white uniform of the prison, was waiting beside his machine. So there is person also involved. And see, the hangman who is going to hang him, who is going to execute him, he's also a prisoner. He is not an official or a personnel. That is really, really ironical. It presents irony that a person who has also committed certain crimes, he is executing the person like him. A criminal is being used to execute another criminal. They're not executing by themselves. So this reflects the complex and troubling nature of authority in the system. That they are not doing this action by themselves. They are forcing another criminal to take that action. And was waiting beside his machine. The gallows is referred to as a machine. The reference is to a machine. A machine works without emotion. Have you ever seen a machine that has certain emotions? No, it does not have. It's not like human beings. It just performs a function. It just performs an action. It accomplishes certain tasks. So gallows is also a machine without emotions. It has no concern what it is going to do with a person. It's going to take the life of someone who is alive. So this reduces execution to a routine mechanical act. He greeted us with a servile crouch. So the hangman is behaving submissively. Submission can be observed. Servile means overly obedient or fearful. He is showing obedience. He's also, maybe he's also has fear. This shows the strict hierarchy and control within the prison system. He cannot disobey them. If he wants, if he does not want, it does not matter. What they want, he has to do that, willingly or unwillingly. That's why he has fear in his mind. and he's showing extraordinary obedience. At a word from Francis, the two warders, gripping the prisoner more closely than ever, half led, half pushed him to the gallows and helped him clumsily up the ladder. Now we'll divide it too in different parts. At a word from Francis, this shows that the process is controlled by commands. Francis is going to give command. Everything happens only when it is ordered. It means execution is not spontaneous. It is not spontaneous. It is strictly organized. It follows an order. It follows a sequence. Even order in the meaning of command. The two warders gripping the prisoner more closely than ever. Now the warders have tightened him more, with more power. Their grip becomes, they tighten their grip as execution approaches because they don't want to let him escape, though he cannot. He cannot, but still they are holding him with tenacious or tightened grip. The closer he gets to death, the more control is applied. They are not leaving him little bit free. This shows the prisoner's complete loss of freedom. Half led, half pushed him to the gallows. The prisoner is neither fully walking nor fully resisting. He is being moved like an object. This reflects dehumanization again. The prisoner has no control over his movement. He is moving like a machine. And help him clumsily up the ladder. The warders, they're acting awkwardly, clumsily. When we use the word clumsily, it suggests discomfort or unease. Even the officers are not completely at ease with the act. Maybe somewhere they also have certain kind of fear that whatever they're doing, it is not it is not commendable. It is not praiseworthy. Then the hangman climbed up and fixed the rope around the prisoner's neck. The last sentence, pinnacle of the whole action, extreme point. So this is the final preparation for execution. The action is described simply without emotion. And this makes the act of killing seems routine and mechanical. It looks that executing is a routine. It is mechanical. It does not have any emotions. Now let's come to literary techniques. Obviously, imagery, symbolism, irony, they are part of the whole essay. So if we want to discuss whether imagery is used here or not, we see that visual imagery is also used here. You can take examples, two examples, like a rope dangling and prickly weeds, right? Rope is described as dangling and weeds are described as prickly. So they are creating visual image. These details help us clearly imagine the scene. This makes the setting feel real and disturbing. If you see symbolism, the objects in the passage carry deeper meanings. Gallows, weeds, rope, all these three give a certain meaning. Gallows represents a system of death. Weeds represent negligence and decay, and the rope represents unavoidable death. Together, they show that execution is both physical and symbolic of moral failure. It is the moral failure, whether it is physical or symbolic. Then let's discuss irony. Here, the hangman is a convict. He himself is a criminal. He himself has been sentenced to certain kind of punishment. There is possibility it may be execution too. We don't know. So this is ironical that you are forcing someone who himself is a prisoner, and one prisoner is killing another prisoner. How cruel you are. How cruel you are that you are encouraging or ordering, not encouraging, ordering a prisoner to kill another prisoner. This shows the strange and contradictory nature of authority. You are not implementing it with your own hands. Then here, we can also see tone and mood. If you see, the tone is detached and it is observational. Attachment you can't find. There is no emotional language. Everything is described calmly. It means there is no attachment. It is detachment. It is just observation. This makes the scene more disturbing because death feels like a routine. So now let's come to the themes. Institutionalized death. Execution is treated as part of a system. The system has devised it. The gallows is described like a machine. Death becomes a routine process, not a moral decision. We also find dehumanization here. The prisoner is not treated with dignity. He is half led and half pushed. They're forcing him to move. They are simply taking his every kind of freedom away from him. He's treated like an object. He's not treated like a human being. Then irony of authority is another theme here. Power operates in unexpected ways. You don't expect how power can be corrupt, how power can be misused. A convict becomes the hangman. Look at it. That is the most ironical thing you can think of, and how it shows that power is ruthless, authority is complex, and even authority is morally questionable. Then we have neglect and decay. The environment that is shown here, that is described here, it reflects moral condition. The weeds show negligence. It's symbolic. Execution is surrounded by decay, both physical and moral. Then inevitability of death is also another theme. It is inevitable. You cannot avoid it. It is unavoidable. You like it, you don't like it. You want it, you don't want it. But you can't avoid it. The process moves step by step toward execution. Each action brings the prisoner closer to death. Death is unavoidable and already decided. Its time is even decided. See, usually we say that time of death is not known to human beings, but he is the unfortunate person who knows when, at what time he's going to die. He's the unfortunate person. So let's see writer style. George Orwell, we know, uses simple, precise, and descriptive language. His focus is on physical detail here rather than emotional expression. He does not tell us how to feel. Rather, he shows us the scene in detail. This allows the reader to realize the horror on their own. Now let's talk about the critical analysis. If you see, this passage is highlighting the mechanical and institutional nature of execution. Orwell is presenting it as an organized and controlled process. It follows certain sequence. Everything happens step by step, like a system or machine. There is no emotion. There is only procedure. At the same time, the prisoner is still a human being. We are not accepting it. This creates a powerful contrast between mechanical system and human life. The system treats death as routine, but the reality is deeply disturbing. The use of a convict as hangman further shows how the system controls and uses individuals to accomplish their tasks. In simple words, we can say that Orwell is criticizing how the system removes humanity from punishment. Humanity lacks, it does not exist when they are punishing. Let me conclude it in 2 or 3 sentences, then we'll finish the lecture. If you see, this passage is presenting execution as a controlled and mechanical process. It is carried out with disturbing normality. It looks normal. It looks like a routine where human being is not given a dignity. He's not respected. He's treated like an object. He's treated like an animal without feeling, without emotions. Through detailed description and detached tone, Orwell is showing how the system reduces human life to a procedure. It becomes a procedure, not more than that. But human life is not like that. It does not deserve to be treated like that. And in the end, we can say that execution is shown not as justice, but it is shown as a cold and dehumanizing act, devoid of emotions. I hope you have understood it. It's also a very disturbing paragraph that leads us towards certain questions which are not answered and maybe which are not going to be answered. If you have any questions, you can ask me. If you have queries, you can ask me. And listen to the lecture carefully. Thank you for watching.